One day, while drunkenly rummaging through Netflix and having a gay old time taking the piss out of some of the greasier teen dramas, I stumbled across a little show called Gossip Girl, starring Blake Lively, the creepy guy from You, and a bunch of other people I don't know. Some of the pricks I used to know from high school really liked it, so I cracked my knuckles, made myself a mayonnaise sandwich, and got ready for some ironic enjoyment. I started the show, and surely enough, I was laughing at the stupid characters and their stupid decisions. And before I knew it, I had spent the entire day binging through the entire first season. Now, I'm at a bit of a loss here. I've poked fun at shows like Riverdale, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and a bunch of the other nonsense teen dramas on Netflix, but none had quite managed to suck me into them as much as Gossip Girl did. So today I'm going to explain how I, a dude in his mid-20s, found himself appreciating a show that has some of the most paper-thin characters that I've ever seen on a TV show. Here we go. Fair warning, this video is going to be a little more relaxed than some of my others if you're used to my channel. I just want to shoot the shit about Gossip Girl for a bit, and I think you clicked this video knowing that I wouldn't be exactly dissecting things and creating a master's thesis about it, but yeah, just in case. Okay, so I have this theory about... I love how I immediately go into a narrative theory. Of course, this is my least nerdy video. So I have a theory about any art that is narrative driven, and here it is. The work has to have at least a strong plot, strong characters, or a strong setting going for it if it's good. If you know of any exceptions, please leave them in the comments. Some narratives, like The Lord of the Rings, have the setting being the real driving force behind it. I mean, let's be real here, the characters are actually a little bit flat, but the setting makes them come alive and makes you interested in watching them succeed. Other narrative pieces, like Joker on the other hand, are character-driven, so even if the plot is a bit sparse or contrived at times, the character is presented so profoundly that you might be willing to overlook its weaknesses. And thus we get to Gossip Girl, a show so devoid of character and setting that it's honestly comical. Yet it has the elements of a strong plot that were honestly enough to keep me curious throughout. Okay, so let's start with the bad. Part alpha, I guess, is how videos are organized. Part alpha. This show is seriously a masterclass in what not to do when writing characters. They all follow the glorious rule of tell don't show, meaning that characters are what they are because other characters say they are as such. All except for Chuck Bass, but we'll get to him eventually. So for example, this sociopath dude is so smart and funny because we are told that he is smart and funny. He never does, anything smart or funny, but come on. And if Blake Lively said it, I guess it must be true. Would Blake Lively ever lie to you? Look, she's so pretty and she's dating Detective Pikachu, so Blake Lively wouldn't lie. Oh, and I'm calling this guy a resident sociopath because A, he was the star of You, and B, because his two defining traits are stalking people and getting into fistfights. Seriously, he gets into 3 fights in the first 3 episodes and gets away with it every time somehow. To be 100% fair, a good chunk of the time it's because of Chuck Bass getting under his skin, but again, we'll get to him. But yeah, our supposed protagonist is seriously likely a sociopath. I guess we'll get the rest of these cookie-thin wafer characters over and out of the way with. The least offensive of these bunch are Serena and Nathaniel. Serena is the one decent main character on the show, and I guess spoiler here, just warning, 3, 2, 1.
All I wanted was to see the paramedics helping Pete. But that's not what I saw.
Yeah, she technically killed a man. Serena is basically carried by Blake Lively's infectious performance, and while Serena doesn't do too much, she's quippy and tries to be there for her friends when they need her, and she's really unintentionally hilarious. She is, and the show really wants you to know this, very good at Guitar Hero. Wow, Serena's showing her rival how to really play Guitar Hero on the medium difficulty. Whoa! Oh, watching this again is so hard. Move over, Akai. We've got a new MLG Elite over here. Oh, God. Serena's also really hungry all the time. She always needs a bite to eat, and she's always starving.
Can we eat first because I'm starving?
Yeah, let's eat.
Yes, I would love to do both, but food first because I'm starving. Great, just in time for brunch.
It's actually hilarious to the point where some characters try sleeping with her through the promise of food. And no, I'm not even joking.
Well, how about a grilled cheese with truffle oil? You do love truffles.
Chuck Bass, who really wants to have sex with Serena, manages to get her alone by bribing her with a grilled cheese sandwich. I swear you can't make this up. She legit follows him to the back of a kitchen alone for a grilled cheese. What the actual hell, Serena? Someone get this woman a damn grilled cheese. That way she doesn't have to sell her body to the night.
I'll trade you my shirt for a grilled cheese.
Nathaniel is one of the other decent-ish human beings on the show, at least as far as season 1 is concerned, and boy is that not saying much. He cheats on his longtime girlfriend Blair with Serena, and then spends most of the first season trying to get Serena even though she isn't interested. What's worse is that he only stays with Blair because his father gives him a financial incentive to do so. He also breaks up with Blair toward the end of the season because she had sex with someone else while they were on a break? And yes, this is one of the nicer characters on the show. Also, Nathan is always running with his dad, which just... why does that seem so familiar? Like these weird scene changes with people running. Yeah, whatever, moving on. So if you thought Nathaniel was bad, Jenny and Blair are basically two of the most loathsome characters you can possibly imagine. I'll only go over Blair for the sake of time, but here are just some of the things that she does during the first season of the show. Blair is just straight up evil. Like, I don't know how else to describe her. To sabotage their relationship, Blair sets up her father's new boyfriend by having an ex-lover of his show up. Blair tries to convince everyone that her best friend is an alcoholic and in rehab. Blair tries to get a 14-year-old blackout drunk because initiation? Blair pressures the same 14-year-old into getting into fights with strangers at clubs and pressures her to commit robbery? What? She then locks the kid into a building so that the alarm goes off and the cops show up. Like, this is like tee-hee-hee. It's supposed to be funny? Charming? Oh, Blair, fan favorite. Like, what the hell? In the name of Chuck Bass, what is going on? This girl could have a criminal record were she not able to sneak her way out of it. Like, there are some potentially life-ruining consequences to Blair's BS. Like, holy Moses, this is insane. Fun factoid, the creator of the Gossip Girl novel series has her own spin-off called Gossip Girl Psycho Killer, which takes place in an alternate universe where Blair and Serena were actually serial killers. It's disturbingly not that hard to imagine, given how awful Blair is normally. There are some other miscellaneous characters on the show, like Serena's brother, who kind of just shows up places and leaves. Hi, Eric. Bye, Eric. There it is again. It's on the tip of my tongue. It seems familiar. Never mind. Oh yeah, and there's this grandmother character who pretends to have cancer so that she can manipulate her granddaughter. Wait a second, I just figured it out. Gossip Girl is basically The Room. The awkward running, the grandmother pretending to have cancer, random characters entering and leaving the room for no reason. Guys, Gossip Girl takes place in the same cinematic universe as The Room. Get Alex Jones on this shit right now. Part 2, the good stuff. Anyway, I know you've all been waiting for this, so let's just get it over with. Chuck Bass is maybe one of my favorite characters in TV history. The thing you need to understand about this show is that it's full of a bunch of rich socialites who use their vast wealth to mess with other people, get anything they want, and throw lots of parties. Seriously, there's like a party every episode. But while some spend their time reveling in petty squabbles, spending absurd amounts of money, and just being overall douchebags, Chuck mother-flippin' Bass does all of those things, but with the knobs dialed up to 11 and a self-awareness and charm that is bloody infectious. Please observe and enjoy.
Why should I be chosen to be an usher? I'm Chuck Bass. Some of us are trying to regain our strength.
Anyone who trades their trust fund for a fanny pack flies in the face of all.
They just won't leave the Chuck Bass.
Look, I care about three things, Nathaniel. Money, the pleasures money brings me, and you. Are you high? He looks like Matthew McConaughey between movies.
Serena looked effing hot last night. There's something wrong with that level of perfection. It needs to be violated.
And my personal favorite, for which the context is that Chuck is having a convo with someone who he deems to be an anti-opulence poser.
As much as I love the speech about not needing material things from a guy who has that much product in his hair, this party is about excess, not exposition. Stop talking. Start partying. Now here is something that doesn't need material. As a matter of fact, it's about to come off. Who's with me?
He ends up being right about Winter Soldier, by the way, and he ends up saving his friend's butt by the end of the episode. Don't get me wrong, Chuck Bass isn't by any stretch a perfect character, even in the anti-hero sense. Some of his actions are straight up pernicious and borderline criminal. Like, here he is pushing himself on a young woman who clearly isn't interested in him. Attempted rapist Chuck Bass! Even though that should have ended any potential sympathy toward the character immediately, I found myself oddly enamored by his self-aware, snarky douchebaggery. And his frickin' scarf, I guess, was a selling point too. God, that scarf.
Don't mock the scarf, Nathaniel. It's my signature.
Move out of the way, Zero. There's a new Scarfo in town. Alas, though, a single Chuck Bass, a show does not maketh. And thus we dive into the two biggest strengths of this show that aren't Chuck Bass himself: euphemism and information play. Euphemism is by far this show's biggest strength. The writing is based on a series of books, and while I have no idea how much comes from the books, these are just gems.
You guys are still pretty close, aren't you?
Yeah.
Could you find out who she's seeing?
Me.
Yes. Come on, man, who better?
Isn't there someone else you can torture?
Probably. But I choose you. I hate that I have to ask you this, but have you seen Serena?
Oh, I've seen lots of Serena.
Game over.
Game's not over until I say it is.
Then have fun playing with yourself.
So yeah, the writing on the show is actually pretty solid at times, and can give some characters a much needed boost in likability. Add in the fact that everyone sucks, and you have characters roasting everyone in their immediate proximity, and it actually works because you don't feel bad for the person getting verbally demolished. Lastly, let's talk about how this show deals with the distribution of information. And this gets a little complicated, so bear with. The show has this elusive character, the Gossip Girl, who exists solely on the interwebs with this gnarly early 2000s background. Yo-ho. Gonna play some Headstrong by Trapped and blast me some Papa Roach. She can essentially at any time dissipate normally exclusive information to the public if she happens to have an insider around to give her said information. The idea of the Gossip Girl is a great one because anyone is allowed to learn anything at any time. The information that the characters have is always capable of being delivered to them through this public channel, and this leads to some surprisingly dramatic moments. For example, in one episode, Chuck sends the image of Winter Soldier to Gossip Girl for some reason on camera, and we, as the audience, know that some things are going to escalate, but we don't really know how. We then learn that Chuck Mother Flippin' Bass was actually tricking his best friend into thinking that their common love interest was actually hooking up with Winter Soldier, which gets the heat off of his own butt and onto someone else's. It's the weaponizing of this drama network that allows for some really interesting payoffs to previously established setups. Other times you'll have some information that's given to the audience, but not to the characters. Serena and Resident Sociopath's parents used to date, but they don't want to tell anyone for personal reasons, which makes sense because they don't want things to get awkward between the two lovebirds. I mean, look at those sideburns. How could you not fall for him? Yeah. But then there's a setup on the Thanksgiving episode where Serena's mother shows up at dinner not knowing that her lover's waifu has come back to town. So you see, you as the viewer know that shit's going to go down the moment she accepts the invitation to go over for Thanksgiving, or even earlier when Serena's Thanksgiving plans are canceled and the family has nowhere to go. You as the viewer know she's going to find her way over to Sociopath's house. You're like, aw damn, things are going to go down, but things can stay dramatic for you as the viewer because you don't know the specifics of what's going to happen. This is drama writing 101, and it works simply yet effectively. The plot points aren't all perfect though. The "my parents decide everything for me" as a central conflict that many of the characters face is really banal. You also have the "I can't believe you didn't tell me. Ooh, I'm hurt." Yeah, moments like these are what I call cheap character information withdrawal. There is no reason that the protagonist doesn't tell his girlfriend about his mom coming back in town, and there's no reason that Serena should be pissed off that he didn't tell her. So it kind of comes across as a desperate attempt at creating conflict where there really is none. This isn't a one-time deal, by the way. Literally the same thing happens when Vanessa is introduced to the cast, and the conflict runs its course the same way. Old character rejoins Resident Sociopath's life, Resident Sociopath doesn't tell Serena, Serena eventually finds out and is hurt by the fact he didn't tell her. It all comes off as rather trite compared to some of the better dramatic moments on the show. Mental disorders are also a source of conflict, and I don't mean to belittle mental disorders, but I find it funny that all of the TV shows that have super rich, affluent people always have the one subplot involving mental health issues, and it is used and dropped with Blair and is never come back to later on. Really disappointing that it was sort of just used as a trope on the show, and I don't know how I feel about it. Part 3, wow, I actually got some feels at some points. So there are 2 secret characters that I want to close things up on. I wasn't entirely honest when I said that everyone except Chuck Bass sucks, because there's also Serena's mom and Sociopath's dad. The funny thing is that all 3 of these characters don't have half as big a role in the books, and they're by far the best thing about this show. It kind of makes me wonder if the show writers were kind of being held back by the book, or if, yeah, that's actually definitely the case. I haven't read the books, but I think I can safely assume it to be so. You get to see this character, this woman, who gave up her true love for a life of opulence and spends the first season getting to watch upon her daughter's own happiness as she falls in love with a man less fortunate, but ends up being happier because of it. This woman is watching her daughter live out the choice that she never made. And damn it actually hurts to watch this woman trapped with regret and unable to move past class barriers. Like, it actually hurts me in the feels. This stupid teen drama actually made me feel something. Gossip Girl is at its best in season 1. Notice how I didn't even bother mentioning the later seasons in this video. But when it ended, I felt this weird satisfaction. Like with Serena dancing with resident sociopath. Nathaniel with Vanessa, who I didn't even bother mentioning because she is like a typical artsy-fartsy golem. Like, she has no personality whatsoever aside from she has a camera and she works as a barista and she clearly goes to thrift shops. But then seeing the two parents together, something about that just made me smile. And I kind of said, damn, you know what? This show gave me the feels. And I can't help but feel like there's one ending that I'm kind of missing. Oh yeah, Chuck, he totally takes off with Blair, right?
Amelia. A moment.
What's this?
I was hoping we could discuss what you have planned for my room.
And who are you?
I'm Chuck Bass.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys ended up liking the content, then please caress that like button because it's beckoning out for you. It's calling you. It's going, please, please gently caress me. And if you think you like hearing the sound of my voice and might want to check out some more of my stuff, please hit subscribe because you'll be notified when I do upload stuff. I'm uploading twice a month, and I plan to do so until I die. Take care. This is the Manic Pineapple. Goodbye. Oh, my body aches. My pineapple body aches with pain and pain.
Yeah, I had sex with him in the back of a limo.
Several times. I had sex with you at a wedding while I was her date. Once.